All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So I appreciate everybody for joining us for this webinar, and this is going to be a series we are going to have some future webinars scheduled. This first one is how to take your club digital during COVID-19, and that's presented by Upswell. My name is Tim Monticello. I'm the executive marketing consultant here for the fitness side. I've been with the company from the start. I've worked with small and large franchises, independent clubs, independent studios, small, medium, and large. I want to also introduce our digital marketing coordinator, Madison. Hey, Madison.
Hello.
Yeah, Madison has been with us for a couple of years. She has specialized in the social media side. She represents a bunch of our clients on that side of it. So welcome, Madison. I also have Nate Jewell. Hey, Nate.
Hey.
Nate's the CEO of Dryft. Dryft is actually located in the Bay Area. He originally started as a mobile training company, and then he quickly pivoted with the shutdown to all live classes. And not only that, he's expanded his footprint where he's delivering live classes out to different cities across the U.S. and also internationally. So we're going to get more into that. But want to move on to the next slide. Yeah, so I wanted to give you guys some industry updates. Obviously, it's been a very fluid situation. President Trump came out last week. He announced guidelines to restart the country. He gave the authority to the governors to decide what that timeline was going to be within those guidelines. It was hopeful to know that phase one did include gyms and studios. That was the hopeful part. There are a few states that have announced reopenings. As far as gyms, getting open, Georgia was obviously the one state that went against any of the phases, and they are now choosing to open tomorrow or giving owners the opportunity to open if they'd like to. Nate, I wanted to pick your brain on it. Obviously, you're out in the Bay Area. I wanted to get your thoughts on kind of, what's going on with that.
Well, out here, we're obviously still shut down, shelter in place, so there hasn't even been talk of the phases. This is going to be, I think, an interesting development with what states do with phase one and including gyms and whether or not they decide to, because I could see state by state, some states not including gyms and fitness facilities in phase one. I know I personally and Dryft don't believe gyms should be in phase one. Which might be a pretty big sticking point with a lot of other gym owners. I mean, we're a single studio, so this impacts us greatly, but if we think about the health and safety of everyone, try to protect the employees and the customers and people wearing masks and social distancing with 6 feet and trying to wipe down every piece of equipment every time someone uses it in locker rooms and lockers. I just think it's next to impossible in phase one to truly tell yourself, we can do a perfect job keeping things clean and safe and healthy for everyone. So even if phase one allows gyms out here, we're not gonna open up in phase one personally.
Okay, yeah, really good insight. And as far as like the May and June outlook, it very much falls into what you're saying. As many states are going to have some plans, but it's yet to be seen kind of how how clubs are going to handle it individually. I think it just depends on the situation, how you think of the issue. My best guess, as far as things getting back to a new normal, is going to be July or August. So I want to just go ahead and move on to the next slide. We can get into some of the things that our clients are doing to engage. So what's been really interesting, especially during this COVID-19 shutdown, is that obviously everybody's been staying in their homes because of the shelter-in-place orders. Digital engagement is at an all-time high. The Global Web Index, they found 45% of global consumers are devoting more time to social media. And then I've also seen another stat where average screen time has increased about 3 hours with mobile devices. So people are very much staying plugged in during this time. This is their outlet to the outside world. Whether it be good or bad, it's their outlet to the outside world. So some of the things that our clients are doing to continue to market themselves, From a digital ad perspective, target display ads, utilizing the Google Ad Network, still very much relevant during this shutdown, just because of the amount of time people are spending on their devices. Some of the ads that we're running, are marketing live classes. There still could be some clubs that are in pre-sale that we're still obviously marketing to get brand awareness out there during the shutdown. We also have mobile ads that we've been running since people are spending so much time on those devices, to where we can geofence specific homes and addresses. We're able to get through to people, as far as, again, with live classes, so similar messaging. SEO, obviously that's something to boost organic search results, especially utilizing Google. That is something that we're continuing to run for our clients. It is imperative, especially during the shutdown, to plan for the future. So with those services, we recommend keeping those turned on, or if you haven't done so and you're looking to increase your brand presence, brand awareness, this is something that would be good to set you up for the future in the next. It takes about 4 to 6 months to really get some legs to it. So I do recommend, if you haven't looked at that before, I would look at it now. And then also from the social media perspective, from paid ads, Madison, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, so even though clubs are not necessarily open yet, brand awareness is still so important during this time. So my suggestion, if you can run a paid social campaign, would be to consider putting a small budget behind a brand awareness campaign on social media, because it is such a cost-effective way to really communicate out to your target audience what your brand is. Your audience will be looking to get back into fitness, and you want to make sure that you're still staying top of mind. So my recommendation would be to take your normal ad spend and use about 25 to 30% of that into a brand awareness campaign.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for the insight. And then the last thing on the slide, Zoom. So obviously we are on GoToMeeting, so it is not Zoom. And the reason that we're on GoToMeeting is Zoom is reserved for happy hours and then also live workouts. So I've done my fair share of happy hours, a few live workouts with Nate and Dryft. But as far as Zoom, it's a great way to, aside from live workouts, a great way to engage with your members. My wife, she's a member of a studio here, and they've been doing live workouts, but then they've also been doing just meet and greet Zoom calls a couple days a week. That helps you very much stay engaged with your community, engaged with your members. Highly recommend it if you haven't already done so. So now I'm gonna go ahead and move this on to Madison. She's gonna discuss the social media organic side. So if you can go through that.
So if you are doing anything on social media right now, make sure that you are still producing and pushing out that organic content to your audience. You want your audience to know that you did not just fall off the face of the earth, and you're still there to engage with them and for anything else that they would need. This is crucial for both your current membership base as well as potential new leads. The first place people normally go to when they're interested in a new product or service are their social media pages. So you want to make sure that you are posting content that your membership base can go on and interact and engage with. So I have a few examples up on this slide. Actually, stories are so huge right now. And this is basically free advertisement for you. So the best people to advocate for your brand are your current members. So when they take templates like this and fill them out or cross them out themselves, as long as you have your branded logo on there, it's basically free advertisement. They're reposting that for you, and their following is more likely to click and do research on your brand. And you might not even know this, but you already have so much content. My suggestion is to check your tagged images on both Instagram and Facebook and pull those images that your members or your following have tagged you in if it's relevant. People love being highlighted and given a shout out on social media. So you want to use this to let them know that you're still here for them and you're still building those relationships. Another thing that I definitely would suggest is encouraging them to give back to the community. So if you have a budget to work with, you can run giveaways for local restaurants or shops or charities in your community, or even partner with another business to get creative with some options. The possibilities really are endless when it comes to content creation. Moving on to the next slide. So at-home workouts. If you have the ability to, have your favorite trainers or fitness coaches create some at-home workout videos. It's okay if you do not have access to your gym right now. It's actually more authentic if you have your coaches recording these in their living room or their garage or their basement, anything like that. But if you do not have this ability, I suggest reaching out to a company like Dryft, where your membership base can still complete those live interactive workouts, because they will be thankful that you're still thinking of them and their fitness goals during this time.
Awesome. Thanks, Madison. And Nate, if you can take it from here, let us know some of the ways, I guess, that you can generate revenue.
Sure. So I'm actually going to walk through 4 slides. The topics are going to be generating revenue, reducing expenses, the crystal ball of what we might be able to think about the world could look like over the next 6 to 12 months as it relates to fitness. And then finally, kind of recapping a little bit more what Madison was talking about, but from the Dryft side around engaging the community and things that we've done that have been working. We did receive some questions ahead of time via email, so I'll try to address those where it makes sense. There's also a question feature on GoToMeeting, so rather than just being a talking head for the next 10 minutes, if you fire questions there, I will answer them throughout the next few slides to try to make it at least a little bit more interactive and engaging. So please ask questions. So starting with generating revenue, because it's probably the top of mind one for most people, probably most important. There's virtual, there's partnering with other studios, and there's some ideas around utilizing your assets. Most of the questions came around the virtual aspect and what people had emailed in. So what you'll see, I think most people doing is they're either doing free IG live workouts or Facebook or YouTube kind of free live streaming, which is great. It's a great way to engage a community, offer free workouts, and just kind of keep people moving. Instructors are doing that and asking for individual donations. On the club side, we're doing Zoom workouts. So we kind of just flipped our booking system to allow to offer 30-minute or 45-minute virtual workouts. We send out a Zoom link. I do know that MindBody, Mariana Tech, and I believe ZingFit have all enabled those features, as have ClassPass and GymPass. So if you're on those, a lot of the back-end platforms we use to run our businesses are kind of now supporting adding Zoom links in the live stream so customers get them and they don't share them. I will say, while it's easy just to open up a Zoom and run a class, there is a lot of manual work just to make sure all the classes have the right Zoom links. You don't want to use the same one for every class thing, because people are just kind of coming in to check in customers. So there's I think a lot of new logistics you're going to have to think about in doing it. But it's a great way just to get people moving and offering classes, I think, to maintain your community engagement. We're doing 6 or 7 a day across a variety of fitness types, from HIIT to yoga to meditation, sculpt, etc. And then we've actually been partnering with other gyms where either they'll sell memberships and they get a rev share just to kind of give something to their members, because they either don't have the time, the power, whatever it is, to offer things on their own, or we've been partnering with studios kind of teaching the ropes so they can get up and running on their own. So as I think Madison and Tim have both mentioned, you can always reach out to us, and I think we're more than willing to help in a lot of ways. So one of the couple questions we got on the Go Virtual is, what's the best digital package out there to offer virtual classes? It really is Zoom. Zoom is a meeting tool first and foremost, but there is no fitness software that allows for two-way interactive group fitness. There's tons of personal training apps, tons of websites you can go to that you can do one-on-one coaching, and that's there's tons of platforms that are great for that. But if you want to log on and teach a class, or your instructors want to teach a class, and you want to see the clients and the clients want to see you and it's interactive, it really, really needs to be Zoom. And Zoom's better than Google Meet, it's better than GoToMeeting, just in terms of the functionality and playing audio and all kinds of stuff. Pricing was another question on virtual. We've made the decision to price the classes to be a lot less expensive than our in-person classes. You don't have the same equipment that you do in the studio, obviously. Our classes are a little bit shorter, 30 or 45 minutes versus 50 and 60 minutes. So just some of those aspects that it's not quite the same experience as in studio. We started with just $5 per class, and now we're actually charging $10 per class. We found with what other studios are charging, like a Barry's Boot Camp that charges $20 a class, that there was some room in the market to increase price. And then we do packages and memberships. So we do a 10-pack for $80, so that lowers the price for people. And then we're doing an unlimited membership for $119 a month. And then we kind of just added a kicker where they get a free month-to-month Headspace membership as well. So like, what are ways to kind of be a holistic offering to our customers during this time where maybe it's not just about fitness to reduce stress and stay healthy, but it's also about your mental kind of health. The last one was, different pay structure for studios. I think it's just thinking through how you were charging before. Was it unlimited? Were you charging per class? Can you roll that into the digital offering? I have seen other studios that were doing unlimited memberships just roll that same exact price structure into the virtual. A way to make the unlimited or the membership maybe a little bit more valuable is you can record the workouts and save those to a private Facebook community where only the members could have access to it, so that they miss something, they can go back. So I think there's lots of ways to try to give the membership options just a little bit extra if they're going to sign up for something that recurs every single month. On the partnering, there's lots of, as I mentioned, platforms for individual trainers. I think there's ways that you could look to partner with other studios, maybe in your city, in your geographical area, to say, hey, could we all partner together and offer a co-branded experience? If me, myself, as an individual studio can't do it on my own and I need help, maybe because you laid off people or you just don't have the technical knowledge, again, I'd offer Dryft to that one. We can help. And the last one is utilizing, your idle asset. So it can be renting out equipment, it can be loaning out equipment. At Dryft, we actually this week sent out a message to all of our members and then on social media that we're going to let anyone in the San Francisco area borrow our dumbbells and resistance bands for free. We're going to take their credit cards so that if they don't return them or they break them, we can obviously replace them. And the reason we're doing it for free is, it's sitting there, we're not using it. So rather than try to figure out how much you're going to charge someone to rent, a dumbbell to, you can go buy it for $2 a pound, you rent it for $1 a pound, how long do they get it? So we just said, you know what, you can borrow it until we reopen our doors, and we're going to figure out a drop-off method over the weekend to get them all those dumbbells and those bands. So we just did that with a form. We actually have gotten more requests than we do equipment, so we're going to do a lottery. But that's something you can do. I've seen other studios rent out the equipment only to their members. So just try to think about like ways you can do, generate other revenue that one is obviously safe and healthy for your members, but two maybe is kind of thinking outside the box a little bit. And there's the deluge of other ideas that you can do. So a question came in, are we charging people through Zoom or using PayPal, et cetera? So our website, we use Mariana Tech, which is very similar to MindBody. So someone actually goes to our website and buys a credit or a package of credits. So it's booked through our booking platform. So there is no charging happening in PayPal or Zoom. They just have to enter a credit card on our website. And then when they come into Zoom, we actually have been able to, in a waiting room. So when you come in, you'll say, class starting in 10 minutes, and that's all you see is a screen that says Dryft Live is what we're calling our classes. And then when we admit you, we're checking you in with our backend platform. So there's someone in the room, not the instructor, actually looking at everyone that's logged in versus everyone that's signed up. Every once in a while, you get someone who's signed in as iPhone or iPad. So you do have to message them just asking, who are you? So you can check them in. We haven't had any, we've been doing this for 6 weeks. So we started doing our live virtual classes on March 17th, and we have not had a single person join who hadn't signed up. So that was, I think, an early concern, but it hasn't been. In terms of PayPal or Venmo, a lot of instructors do donation-based classes. So what they'll do is they'll ask people to email them or DM them saying, hey, I'm going to do a live class tomorrow at 6 p.m. Are you interested? They get their emails, they email all of them the link, and they say, please give me a donation on Venmo or PayPal. So if you don't want to worry about your booking system and having to figure out how to do it, you can do a very manual process, which is telling people there's a class time, asking them to send you their contact, and then letting them know what the link is, then asking for donations. And I've seen that work extremely well in addition to trying to build it into your system. Okay, so next slide. Reducing all expenses. This is probably obvious at this point. I mean, we're 6 weeks into shelter in place, but it is worthwhile actually going through your bank statement and your credit card bill for your studio, or if it's all on your personal, like it is mine, just going through it and looking at every charge and saying, that's a recurring charge that I'm not using. I'm going to cancel that for right now. And then just making a list. So there's a lot of good ways to save money that way. And it could be $10 and $10, but hey, it adds up to a couple $100, and that's a couple $100. And then deferring payments. This is definitely one we've done. So we've been able to reach out to, we don't have a lot of overhead expenses given the nature of our mobile studio, but we have a company vehicle. We've been able to defer those payments for 3 months. We've deferred our insurance payments for a couple months. So a lot of lenders, a lot of companies are, being really responsive and understanding of the predicament that businesses and people are in. So that's when I would encourage you, as you're looking at all your expenses, reach out and ask if you haven't, because a lot are going to. And even landlords are offering in some areas breaks on rent, maybe not the full amount, but offering a discount for this month, et cetera. So I think anything you can do to reduce expenses is going to be critical. And I'll cover this on the next slide, but it's really about planning for the next 6 to 12 months, because depending on which state you're in, as well as if there's another spike, and then when the winter comes in November, December, January, the CDC, I was reading on Monday, said that they actually expect it to be worse than it is right now. So we could be in shelter in place 2, 3 times over the next year. So understanding your expenses and trying to cut and get as lean as possible, obviously outside of payroll, which is probably the biggest expense, will definitely help. We have another question. So our average class size for workouts. So for us, I'd say our average has been 15, which is great. Given how many options there are, and every city is gonna be a little bit different with who people follow and what brands are there. In the Bay Area, it's a pretty fitness-centric city, so there are thousands of options. Every single instructor, almost every instructor at Rumble and Barry's and SoulCycle and all the little studios like Dryft are offering their own workouts in addition to maybe teaching at their studios. So you literally could have hundreds or thousands of options. So we've been averaging 15, which I think is great. It definitely goes up and down depending on the instructor. Instructors have their followings. There are people who just say, no matter what, I'm gonna work out with this person whenever it is. We do try to balance to make sure everyone has an opportunity to teach, just because it might be their only source of revenue. Another thing I didn't mention that we've done is our instructor team pre-COVID was 9 people. We're actually at 25 people now. So we took the decision to say, if anyone's out there that wants to teach, reach out to us. It doesn't matter if you're in New York or Denver or San Francisco, and we'll try to add you on the schedule. And we've done that. So as a result, we have a lot of people that never would have worked for Dryft otherwise teaching, just to give them a platform and opportunity, because their studio hasn't been offering virtual classes or they couldn't figure out how to do it. As a result, we've seen the people who joined us 2 or 3 weeks in started offering their own Zoom classes on their own, which you might say, well, that hurts Dryft, like what about your revenue? Well, it doesn't, because they're actually able to make more revenue. They're teaching people who maybe never would have come to Dryft anyway, and they're still on our schedule. So it helps everybody. So it kind of goes back to partnering and ways to partner. We're just trying to be creative and just making sure, one, people have a means to exercise and work out with the people they want to, and then on the instructor front, they have a way to earn a little bit of money, given most of their income is probably not happening right now. Sorry, another question. So do we utilize a floor coach to assist with workouts, helping to engage members, correct form, etc.? We actually don't. So the way we structure our classes is the instructor's teaching it live. So they'll show the moves. They might do a circuit of 3 moves, and then they have people work through it for 45 seconds or 60 seconds. It's not a strict template that we're doing. It's just kind of what the instructors have found works well. And then they'll come up to the screen and they can see everybody, and they'll coach them along and help. With something like yoga or sculpt, there's definitely a lot more coaching, but it is only one instructor we have in the room helping out. And we've gotten positive feedback with that. The first 3 weeks, we were sending out a survey to every single person who took classes. And I think we probably had like a 20% response rate on the surveys. And there wasn't any feedback that they needed that. Now, it could be different depending on the type of workout you're doing. But with a lot of body weight stuff, you know, you're not lifting heavy barbells or anything. Most people don't have dumbbells at home or bands at home. We do encourage people to grab a wine bottle or two, or you know, a towel. We do a lot of workouts with towels, believe it or not. You can put a towel through a backpack strap and put weight in the backpack and use it for arm curls. But we haven't had any issues with having to have 2 coaches, one watching form and one teaching. Let's see. Our pay range for instructors. So all of our instructors are making a per head rate. It was hard to do a base rate given the type of classes we're doing. I don't want to divulge the exact dollar amounts they're making, but I would say our instructors are making more per head than I think anyone else, at least in the Bay Area. It wasn't about Dryft making money, even though we need it and we are, you know, losing money just given the situation, like all of you. It was really about trying to put as much back in our instructors' pockets as we could. So they make way more per head than Dryft does at the end of the day. Next slide. So the road ahead, this is obviously all just guessing on my part, but you know, if I kind of think about plan for the worst and hope for the best, that's I think really what we should all be doing, given we don't know what's going to happen with COVID and then influenza season and then all of it happening at once and states, you know, releasing, opening up at different paces. So reduce traffic. I think this happens for a few reasons. One is, you know, when stuff starts to open, there have been some surveys saying most people are hesitant to go back into the gym unless they know their gym has really good cleaning and safety protocols. So I think we will lose people initially. I think people will eventually come back, but initially it's going to be just lower traffic even if your doors are open. Social distancing and capacity constraints. I think some states, especially heard out in California, are going to cap the number of people you can have in a studio class or in a gym. So that effectively reduces your traffic. So let's say we're a HIIT style studio, we can do a 40-person class. The state might tell us, you know, 50% capacity. So that obviously impacts revenue. So just thinking about what that means. Do you change the layout of the classroom as a result, et cetera? Shutdowns. This can be both shutdowns from the, you know, more shelter in place happening over the next 6 to 12 months, as well as just studios are going to unfortunately go out of business and shut down. I think people probably saw last week that 24-Hour Fitness has been contemplating bankruptcy. You know, they have obviously a lot of overhead. There are probably other big chains, small chains, and independent places, which is, I mean, it's really unfortunate, and it's the situation we're in. So when that happens in a local area, I think being mindful of what's causing it, and then how do you help out? How do you join forces with studios or gyms that are going out of business to maybe make everything stronger? Maybe there's consolidation, which is the last one, acquisitions. It could be mergers. It could be 2 gyms joining forces, shutting down rent at one of them. I think it's really about survival in the worst case scenario. So again, plan for the worst and hope for the best is kind of what we're doing out here, and just kind of try to, I read a lot of news every day on what's going on in fitness, read what the big players are thinking they're going to do, read what the states are kind of thinking the rules are going to be, and just think about, you know, how we might respond to that when it's time in California. Question came in, any suggestions on changing over from a free Zoom platform and workouts to not asking for a fee due to prolonged closure? I think if I understand the question, it's about charging people instead of letting them do it for free. So there's free Zoom, so you can use a free Zoom account. You get 40 minutes with more than 2 people in the Zoom room, and then it shuts down on you. We do pay for our Zoom, which the pro version is $15 a month, and that gets you unlimited minutes and up to 100 attendees. And there's an enterprise version, which I think is like $180 a month, which gets you 500 attendees, but it gives you 10 accounts. So if you're going to do multiple of these at the same time, it could be helpful. We do charge for it. I think if there's going to be prolonged closures, I do think charging for classes make sense, I think consumers will pay. If you go ahead and flip the next slide, I'll weave this in. To kind of engage in the community, something we do is because not everyone can pay, and we don't want to alienate our consumers who are in financial, hardships themselves, is we're doing a couple things to try to give back. So every week we do a charity class, which is 100% donation based and nothing's required. So people who can pay donate, and then we give all that money to COVID relief. And then everyone in the healthcare world, so all healthcare professionals nationally, and all frontline people at, say, Target, Walmart, grocery stores, people who have to work for essential businesses that are just kind of stuck and exposed to COVID and other things, we give them all unlimited memberships. So they have a free membership. So that's a way for us to give back to either people in financial hardships or people on the front lines who are trying to help us through this, as well as trying to earn money from people who can afford it. And I think what we found is people who can afford it are more than willing to keep paying and do the charity classes and provide donations to try to help everyone else. It really is about coming together and being a community through it. And then Madison touched on this earlier, which was giveaways and stories and other things. So we obviously are doing giveaways, quote unquote, borrowing with our equipment. We do stories every day, Instagram posts, Facebook posts. We're going to start doing blog articles and white papers and send them out in emails. It's just about engaging people to make sure they remember who you are in 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, whenever it is when they come back. And it can be relevant things. I've definitely seen some studios maintain that, which has been great, because with more people on social, there's more content to go through. And if you go silent for a while, the way algorithms work, it's going to take a long time for you to show up in their feeds again. And I have seen some studios in the Bay Area where I've gotten one email in the past 6 weeks, and you're kind of like, it's almost out of sight, out of mind. So I think engaging with your consumers in a lot of ways is really, really important. So the question about Zoom. So the member fee, so our membership, we don't charge on top of it. So if there's a member fee, let's say you're charging $99 a month, the way we're doing it is all Zoom classes are included in that. So our model is credit-based, so you can buy an individual class as well as an unlimited membership. If I'm still not answering your question, Allison, drop me an email, and I'm happy to hop on the phone to talk through with you.
Yeah, Nate, chiming in. I think it had to do with just maybe certain members being accustomed to getting free workouts currently during the shutdown, and then changing over to a paid system.
Yeah, so maybe I can speak to, we started paid right away, but I can speak to, we did two price increases in 5 weeks, which, in the typical world would be unheard of and considered blasphemy, right, to raise your prices. So we started at $5 for the drop-in, went to $7, and then went to $10. So doubled prices effectively over 5 weeks. And the way we communicated it, which was true and I think helped, is 100% of the price increase went to the instructor. So it wasn't about Dryft, the company, trying to be greedy and make more money. It was, hey, we're going to try to put more back on the instructor. So I think it's about communication. So if you're going from free workouts to charging, I think people are going to be really receptive to saying, I get it. Like, you have this brick and mortar studio, you probably have rent, you probably have insurance, you have these other costs, you have instructor, you might have payroll, and then communicating that, hey, we hate to do this, but we're going to keep doing it. And then if you're in a position where you can say to people, if you're in a financial hardship and you can't afford the fee, please email us. I don't think people are going to abuse that. So I think on a one-off basis, someone who was a paying member and isn't paying anymore, who's getting free workouts, who can't afford it, will email you saying, I'm out of a job, but can I still do it? And then that's up to you to decide if you want to let them have access or not. That's kind of not the same scenario for us, but how we at least handled messaging, because we were doing price increases. So it is about communication, and I think explaining the need and the situation you're in, and people are very understanding right now. I'm just skimming through the questions real quick. Okay, that's it for my slides for now, as other questions might come in.
Yeah, thanks, Nate. Yeah, so I guess just opening up to more questions. Feel free to ask some more. We'll stay on here. Did have, I guess, one question that you might have answered during the entire webinar, but just to touch on it again, I guess, any recommendations for a gym or club? So obviously we've touched on the engagement, key on social media. Stay engaged on your page, especially Nate mentioned the algorithms, imperative that you do that. From a digital perspective, if you do have some in the budget, we do recommend devoting some to some digital avenues, whether it be TDA, whether it be social, when I say TDA, target display advertising, or mobile ads, something going out there. Obviously, if you are marketing live classes, do that. But then it could just be something to just get web traffic to your site too. It could be efforts that you guys are having in the community. I mean, there was a gym that I worked with that was making masks for his community, and he had them branded with his gym name on there, and showed some people at some different restaurants that were serving to-go orders. They were wearing the mask. So having outreach like that, like even putting that out there for some paid ads just to show your outreach to the community to build goodwill, that could pay dividends in the future. And then obviously the other side of it with the live classes, if that's something that you're having difficulty getting legs to, maybe it's a company like Dryft that could help you take that to the next level, because they do have a very robust schedule, different focuses, and it could be something. So if you are interested in that, I definitely suggest you talking to Nate. So do we have any other questions coming through here?
I don't see any more as of right now.
Okay. I think we answered all of the ones before. And then I guess to leave it, Madison, Nate, is there anything else that you guys wanted to touch on that you might have not touched on earlier?
My biggest takeaways were just making sure that you're staying engaged through your organic social postings. And I'll touch one more time. I definitely suggest taking your normal ad spend and using about 25 to 30% of that towards some type of brand awareness campaign, just to introduce to your target audience, hey, this is my brand, this is the type of fitness that we offer, because you still want to make sure that you're staying top of mind.
I think the other thing I'd add is, we're the fitness industry, besides a few very big companies out there, it is thousands of independent or smaller chain studios, and we're in this together. So it's about helping each other, reaching out to people or don't know. I think even cold emailing people in your area you've never met, or LinkedIn, they're going to reply. I think everyone wants to help everyone in the fitness community and make sure our community is healthy and active, and all of us are kind of banding together to survive however long this might be in this.
Yeah, totally agree. So with that, I just thank you everyone for submitting the questions. I will say we did receive some that pertained to reopening strategies. So don't be concerned that we didn't answer it, because we will be answering it in a future webinar. We do have a poll. So for the ones that are still on, if you want to answer the poll, would you be interested in a webinar focused on reopening? If you could please respond to it, that would be great. But yeah, again, thanks so much for attending today, and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thanks.